Hi, this is a video for Unit 4, Activity 4, and this is our last activity of the semester. So this activity is broken up into two parts on the content page, and the first part is root words, suffix, and prefixes. And so what we're going to go over here is the different parts of a word and how one word can be made into multiple different words. And hopefully this helps us get a better understanding of the English language. And so we start with root words, and we've got a definition underlined here. A root word is a word or word part that can form the basis of new words. So if we take a word like legal, which is actually originally a French word, we can take legal and we can add letters or small words to the end or to the beginning of legal and create new words like illegal, paralegal, legally. And so what we're doing here is we're taking root words, in this case legal, and we're just creating more words. And the English language grows continually with new words almost on a daily basis. And so what we have here is a listing of examples of root words, their basic technical meaning, and then new words that can be created out of those root words. And there's two general ways that we can add to these root words and make them into new words. And the first one is prefixes. And so a prefix, if we again go to the underline here, is a small word or a group of words that is added to the start of another word to change its meaning. So if you add a prefix to a root word, you can get a new word, sometimes with a completely new meaning. And so, for example, if we have the root word dependent and we add the prefix in, we now have independent, which is actually the English word for the opposite of dependent. And so we've got, again, a list here of root words, so active, marine, fortune, cast. And what they're going to ask you to do here is see if you can add prefixes to these root words to make new words that when I say new words, we're not creating words out of thin air, but to create words that already exist. And they've given you a list of prefixes here: de, dis, hyper, auto, miss. So these are all tiny words or groups of letters that we can put in front of these root words and create new words. And I think you'll find that each one of these prefixes fits one of these words. So you should be able to use each prefix once. And so see if you can do that. See if you can take the root word, add a prefix, and create a new word. And then you can click here if you'd like to see the answers. A second way to add to a root word and create a new word is to use a suffix. And a suffix is similar to a prefix, except instead of coming at the beginning of the word, it comes at the end. And so, again, the underline here has our definition. A suffix is a small word or a group of letters that is added to the end of another word to change its meaning. So if we have the root word quick and we add the suffix ly, we of course now have quickly. Or if we have dark as our root word and we add the suffix ness, we now have darkness. If you'd like a listing of some of the most common suffixes, you can find them here. We use suffixes all the time when we're writing, so it's a good idea to know the common endings that we put on words when we're writing. What you're going to be asked here again is to do a practice exercise. And so we have a list of words here. Again, these are, well, actually, this is different than our first exercise. These words already have the suffix added to them. And so what you're going to be asked to do is to take understandable, for example, here, and to break it up. Which part of understandable is the root word, and which part of understandable is the suffix? And you should be able to take apart these words and make them into two: the root and the suffix. And if you'd like to see check your answers, you can click check your answers right here. Okay. And that's it for our part one. Again, it's just trying to get you to think about how the words that we have in English are created and how we build on root words to create new words. If you do have any questions about root words or prefixes or suffixes, please let me know. And now to the main part of the exercise or the activity, part two, letter writing. And this is going to be our last entry of the semester here. This is our last activity that we're going to have to do an assignment on. Obviously it's called letter writing, so hint, hint, you're going to have to write a letter when you get to the assignment page in this activity. So you want to pay particular attention when you're going through letter writing here to make note of how a letter is structured, and there'll also be an example of a letter that you want to take a close look at here as well too. So we'll start by talking about how there are formal and informal letters, and you'll have an example here of an informal letter. So this is an example of a letter that a high school student wrote to her Aunt Mary. So her Aunt Mary bought her a Christmas gift, and she wants to thank her aunt, so she writes this little letter. If you read this letter, you'll notice that there's slang or contractions. So the word usage is not formal, it's informal. So words like I'll or I'm. The writer uses words like get. Get is a word that we usually don't use in formal writing. Get, got, stuff, thing. These are informal words. And the writer also uses exclamation marks here. And so you'll see that this is an informally written letter. It won't have all of the different detail at the top that you'll see in a formal letter as well. So this is just an example of a casual letter that you would write to a relative or a friend, someone that you already know. Okay. The second type of letter, and for us this is going to be the more important type, is formal letters. And that's when you're writing to someone that you don't know. So when you're applying for a job, when you're writing to a university about a program, when you're writing to a company or an organization or a school to get information or to try to become a part of their organization, you're going to write a formal, proper letter. And so what we've got here is the structure of what we're going to focus on, a cover letter. And a cover letter is something that you would write when you're applying for a job. And so you'll notice that there's a lot of different parts. You're going to have to put your own address. You're going to have to put the date that the letter is written. You're going to have to write the recipient's address. So who are you writing to? You're going to have a salutation. Usually that's dear, so-and-so, whoever the person's name is. But if you don't know the person's name that you're writing to, you can write to whom it may concern. You're probably going to have 3 or 4 paragraphs. So in a cover letter, you're trying to impress somebody and trying to show them that you're interested in a job. So you're going to start the opening paragraph by introducing yourself, by being clear about what job you're applying for, and you might want to tell them how you heard about the job. So if you read about the job online, you can mention that. Or if a friend that works at the company has recommended you, you can mention that. Now, paragraphs 2 and 3, you're going to focus on your experience and your skills. So sometimes students put this into 1 paragraph, sometimes students break this into 2. And I'll leave that to you, but if you want to do 2 paragraphs, you would do your first paragraph discussing your previous work or volunteer or school experiences and explain why that qualifies you for the job you're applying for. And then in the next paragraph, you would describe your personality and your skills and explain why they qualify you for the job. You don't want to write long paragraphs in a cover letter. A cover letter should fit all on 1 page. It shouldn't go into a second page. So your paragraphs, you don't want them to be any more than 4 or a maximum of 5 sentences. You're just trying to introduce yourself and explain briefly why you're qualified for this job that you're applying for. In the closing paragraph, you're just going to usually politely request that you be interviewed. So you ask the person you're writing to contact you and to consider you for the job and to hopefully offer you an interview. and then you can thank them for reading the letter and for considering you. And again, the closing paragraph can be 1 or probably maximum 2 sentences because it's just quickly wrapping up. And then you have what's called a complimentary closing, where you usually say sincerely or cordially, and then you put your name. And you usually save a space between the complimentary closing and your name because you usually write your signature in the middle. Okay? If you'd like to see a full example of this, you can look right here. And this is an example of a cover letter. It has the writer's address information. It has the date. It has the person that the writer is writing to, and it gives the person's name and their title and their address here. It has the salutation, so Dear Ms. Hopkins. So you're writing to Ms. Hopkins, so you're going to write formally Dear Ms. Hopkins. Notice it doesn't say Dear Jamie. You're using the person's last name when you're writing a formal cover letter. And then you'll see the 4 different paragraphs. The first one is going to go over the position that the person is applying for. The second one is going to go over their experience. The third paragraph is going to go over their skills and their personality. And the last paragraph is going to thank the person that you've written to, and again sort of ask them to contact you and hopefully give you an interview. And then you have your complimentary closing, yours sincerely. You have a space for your signature, and you have your name. And this is what you're going to have to do for me. In the assignment page, you're going to have to show me that you can write your own cover letter. So pay particular attention to this cover letter right here, and pay attention to the breakdown of the different structural parts of the letter, and you'll see all of these different structural parts again right in this example. And make sure that you have a good understanding of what the cover letter is supposed to look like, and then you can move on to the assignment and write your own. And if you have any questions about the content, please let me know.